Last week we talked about believe, and we're going to talk about a little bit more about preconceived ideas. So let's just go ahead and jump into Mark chapter 8, verse 27. Whew. And Jesus went out from where he was in Bethsaida, along with his disciples, to the village of Caesarea Philippi. On the way, he questioned his disciples, saying to them, "Who do people say that I am?" They told him, saying, "John the Baptist, others say Elijah, but others one of the prophets." And he continued by questioning them, "But who do you say that I am?" And Peter answered and said to him, "You are the Christ." And he warned them to tell no one about him. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes and be killed after 3 days, rise again. And he was stating that matter plainly. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning around and seeing his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are not setting your mind on God's interest, but man's." Now it's interesting, it says he turned around and saw the disciples. Then he rebuked Peter. That's kind of one of the philosophies of pastoring that I live by. Like, you could say any crazy thing you want, and I wouldn't rebuke you. But you start to kill the faith and destroy the faith or maim the faith of somebody else, and I will challenge you publicly. Your actions, people criticize me maybe for outing someone, but the Bible says if you cause someone to stumble, it'd be better for you that a millstone be hung around your neck and cast in the sea. So my goal is to protect you from the millstone in the sea. By trying to help you understand, you're stumbling others. We have a freedom in our world called Facebook to say anything we want and destroy anybody we want with our words. And it's all anonymous and we hide behind, "I'm not with you, it's not face to face." And that gives us a kind of a courage to then begin to say horrible things face to face. We have news media that things happening 3,000 miles away this morning, you can see in your living room as they happen. People can slander people and tear people down and destroy people's understanding. They can lie and you don't know it. You're just a victim of it. And so there's this real thing where he looks at the other disciples and realizes what Peter's saying is bad for the disciples, and he rebukes him so that they know not to ascribe to or adopt or take in what Peter has said. And all Peter said is, "There's no way I'm going to let you die. There's no way I'm going to let you get killed." When that was God's plan from the beginning, that was Jesus' plan from the beginning, that was the plan since creation. It should be very well known to Jewish men. Peter and the disciples are all Jewish men. They've all attended Hebrew school as children. Now, Hebrew school, this person is called the Messiah. What Peter probably said here is the Messiah, but he is recorded in this book written in Greek as the Christ. And so first I want to tell you that when you see the word Messiah and you see the word Christ, they are interchangeable. They're the same word. In the Hebrew, the word is Messiah. In the Greek, the word is the Christ. So we in English have called him Jesus Christ as though that were his last name. Even when we even refer to him as Christ as a name. Christ said, but it's not Christ said, it's the Christ said. And what they both mean is the anointed one of God. And so these Jewish men have been hearing about this anointed one coming clear back since Moses. I've referred to you so many times about this verse in Deuteronomy chapter 18, where the Israelites say, we're scared of you, let Moses talk to us. And God says, okay, I'll talk to you through Moses. But one day you're going to have to listen to me. I'm going to send you an anointed one. And he is going to talk to you. And you better listen to him. Fast forward to what I said last week about the 3 guys go up the mountain, see Moses and Elijah, and the Father speaks out of the cloud. This is my son. You got to listen to him. And today, just like them, they're not listening to the one that God sent. We today in Christianity, if we listen to 100 sermons in a week, we might get one, if we're lucky, that is the Messiah speaking to us. It is popular to take everything God ever said and say it's the Messiah, but it's not. John chapter 1, verse 1 says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And in the beginning, he created all things. And in verse 14, it says that the Word, God, became flesh and dwelt among us. And it differentiates that Jesus, being born in the flesh, is a brand new expression of God. And we meet him in Revelation, where he says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. I was dead and now I'm alive. There is a new creation, God inhabiting a man. It's a new expression of God's Spirit. It isn't God complete. It's a new expression. Man, and he calls himself in the Bible many times the Son of Man, which is God-man, man-God. God become man. That's all it means. The Son of Man is God-man. And so the question asked here is, who do people say that I am? Here at the Father's house, we want to answer that question. But more important, who do you say that I am? So we want to ask the question, who does God say that he is? Because I have all these opinions that have been taught me all my life. When I think about the things in the 50 years, after meeting Jesus, not my childhood going to church, no, meeting Jesus and all the things I've been taught that I later read and said, that's not what I was taught. Where did they get that from? That's not what this says. I want to know, what does he say? First thing you got to settle on is, I decided after being I'm skeptical of everything. So skeptical of the Bible. Why would I believe that? So I studied and found out you can believe it. So I've decided on my own to be a biblical Christian. But I decided based on very in-depth study in my early Christian years, back in those 70s and 80s, when I knew those people that were here last week. I was studying constantly the apologetics of truth to find out why I believe what I believe. Why do I believe the Bible's true? And I decided the Bible's true. It was overwhelming evidence. And so the Bible teaches who God is, and I need to figure that out. Now, these men are saying, the Jews say you're Elijah. Some say this, some say that, one of the prophets. They have no reason, and they have no right to be confused by this. And can I tell you, if you've been in church for any length of time, you now have something that no other generations had. You have Bibles translated into English by scholars that are so accurate, it's unbelievable. We use the New American Standard here. It is phenomenally accurate. Beyond anything you've ever had rewritten, nothing ever rewritten has been as accurate as these translations, some of them. And the New American Standard is one of them. And so you have no right to not know who God is. You constantly listen to other people tell you. You listen to me. And I'm glad you do, because I'm trying with all my heart to only tell truth. But it states right here in a million different ways who God says he is. And this is the most important pursuit of man. Last week I might have said understanding what believe is the most important. But it's probably a close second to who does God say that he is. Jesus asks Peter, who do you say that I am? Now, let's read in Matthew the same story. Matthew 16, 13 through 16. When Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he was asking his disciples, who do people say that the Son of Man is, God-man? And they said, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said, but who do you say that I am? Peter says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. 16 through 19. That's it. Never mind. So, you see how closely, it's like this, they all heard this. It's like, it's repeated. And he goes on to say, flesh and blood didn't reveal this to you. The Spirit revealed this to you. And he tells him that on this rock I'm going to build my church. Now, many have translated that because he changed his name to Peter, which means sliver of rock, that he means he's going to build the church on Peter. It's not what he's talking about. There's no chance on earth that's what he's talking about. There's 1 billion people in one religion following that principle that it's built on the sliver of rock. It's built on the rock, which is and has been. Nobody has any right to believe otherwise from this much of the book. The rock is the coming one, and that is the Christ, the anointed one. And Peter said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And this knowledge of Jesus is the Christ is the rock on which the church is built. When Jesus says a wise man digs deep and builds his house on the rock, puts his foundation on the rock, that means that you build your life on the fact that Jesus is Lord. That's what believe means. I built my life on the solid fact that Jesus is the one that Moses was talking about in Deuteronomy 18 when he said, you will listen to him or you can't be God's own. If you do not build your life on the foundation of rock, that Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, the Lord, your master, you cannot belong to God. You cannot. Now you've got millions of verses. I mean, there's just so many that tell them about the coming one. And I'm only going to refer to, if I said Isaiah 18, Isaiah 9:6. For a child will be born to us, a son will be given, and the government will rest on his shoulders. His name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. That's what they said about the child born. This is who Jesus is. Isaiah 53:3, I think. This is what Nicole read. He was despised and forsaken of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, like one from whom men hide their faces. He was despised and we did not esteem him. 10 and 11. Oh, there's more. Surely our griefs he bore. His sorrow he carried. We ourselves esteemed him stricken, smitten of God and afflicted. But he was pierced through for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. The chastening of our well-being fell upon him, and by his scourging we are healed. Now, these verses, they may not have recognized till after he's dead, but on him dying, they should have, oh my gosh, he's who Isaiah talked about. They had no right to reject Jesus, especially after his resurrection. And all of us like sheep have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way, but the Lord has caused the iniquity of us all to fall upon him. He was oppressed and he was afflicted. He did not open his mouth. Like a lamb is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that is silent before its shearers, he did not open his mouth. Verse 10 and 11. But the Lord was pleased to crush him and put him to grief, and he would render himself as a guilt offering. He will see his offspring. He will prolong his days, and the good pleasure of the Lord will prosper in his hand. That's you. The offspring of this death is you and me, and the Lord will prosper us. Psalm 22, he cast lots for my clothes, and that was the soldiers casting lots at the base of the cross. In Zechariah 9:9, it said he'd come riding on a donkey. In Micah 5:2, it says he comes from eternity. And once they have all of these verses, in Daniel 9, it says that he would be destroyed, and then the temple destroyed. So at least in 70, every Jew on earth should have known, oh my gosh, it was him, and they should have believed. They had no right to not know the truth. A modern day Jewish man has no right not to know the truth. Their own book proclaims Jesus, and you have to totally be deceived. Somebody has to tell you, no, look over here, look over there. No, it can't be the truth. The snake in the tree coming down has to whisper and deceive them. How does a woman in a garden with God walking with them every day get deceived to eat the fruit that she was told not to? Because the snake talked her into it. the snake talks us into, the serpent talks us into believing whatever it wants us to believe. But we have no right to believe that. We have every reason to believe the truth. And on that day, when there's the Lamb's Book of Life and the names aren't there, we are going to be so shocked at who doesn't get in. And we're going to be so shocked at who does. Because if I were Lord, everybody gets in on some days. And on other days, nobody gets in. But he will do it justly. And we will be shocked at what he has said. And we, like, how could we have known? And he says, of course you should have known. Of course you should have known. That's why it's so important. I can't stress this enough, how important it is. They were deceived. I have looked at the books that talked about their coming Messiah before their day, that told them what the Messiah coming would be. Books like the book of Enoch, that you've never heard of, as Ezra, the book of Ezra, goes on for miles and miles about the coming Messiah. Every word of it wrong. And we know that today because Jesus came. And it was nothing like Ezra said. It was nothing like Enoch said. And there's piles and piles of these writings that they had before Jesus came that caused them to believe he was going to be something other than he is. Now we're waiting for Jesus too. And we have a hope and a promise too. Just like they had a hope and a promise. They missed it. Who am I to think I'm not going to miss it? It says I have to believe. And then it describes believe completely different than what we describe believe as. I showed that last week. It's just shown over and over and over. It's pounded over and over. You and I have no right not to know. One thing I know positive is that I don't know. Fall on my face, Lord, don't let me ever stand there going, I'm okay, I know I'm okay. Someone says to me, no, I decided a long time ago I'm saved. I'm like, oh no. I haven't. I believe him. It's me I'm not so sure about. If they were deceived, I'm seeking the truth every day. My guard's not down. My motor's not turned off. There's no idle in me. We're not out of gear here. We're on a journey. I am guns a-blazing, pedal to the metal, eye on the prize, upward call, further up and farther in. There is no resting here. If they were deceived, if Jesus came and they did not know who he was, you're Isaiah, you're John the Baptist, oh, you're a prophet. They had no right to not know. He's exactly who those verses said he would be. Psalm 22 I didn't even share with you. It's crazy. It describes him to a T. Isaiah 53 describes him. They had no right not to know. You and I are going to be very surprised if we settle on what we think we believe. Because I can't tell you, as a Christian studier, totally uneducated man who just decided to educate himself and study, but, oh my gosh, they're saying all kinds of crazy things. I cannot believe how many people believe in the 21st century that you can be a follower of Jesus and not actually follow Jesus. And they will say these things in plain English that you are okay even if you don't follow Jesus. I know my son's saved, but he's out there running amok. He's using dope and sleeping with 50 different women and stealing money and blah. But I know he's saved. I'm so sorry that you feel that way. Because I got really mad at the people who were going to let me go to hell thinking I was okay. I really needed someone to say, you're not okay. Because I thought maybe, I remember, me and my brother and sister were here last week. We talked about how, well, the girl that brought me to the guy, Tom, was one of the girls that I told to shut up. Quit talking to me about Jesus. And what I said to her is, I'm okay. I'm a Catholic. I have my own beliefs. I didn't have anything. That was just my smoke screen to get her to shut up. Thank God she didn't shut up. Oh my gosh, Lord, thank you for Crystal. Honestly. I had lunch with a girl 2 weeks ago in Colorado named Sandra. And she's the one in my story that didn't want me to read Revelation, was so panicked. In 1975, right on March 10th, got in the car with me after the Magnolia Tree. And if you don't know the story, sorry, I can't go back. Don't read that. Michael, he's reading Revelation. Don't let him. My brother said, nobody tells him what to do. Yeah, me and her laughed. We laughed like crazy 2 weeks ago about it. I told her how she gave me her Bible that night. We cried together about the sweetness of that experience, you know. I'm so lucky I read Revelation that night. Like, people would tell me stuff and I go, that's not what Jesus says in Revelation. Yeah. So, the New Testament, you and I are way past the destruction of Israel. We are 2,000 years, 2,000 years from the destruction of Israel and the wiping out of the temple. We have positive proof that Jesus is Lord, that Jesus is Master, that Jesus is Messiah. He is Christ. He's the anointed one. And we have positive proof of that. And who he is still being masked, and it's being watered down, and it's being changed. Someone walked up to me after I was rebuking someone or correcting someone and said, if Jesus is the good shepherd, he would never do that. Oh, you think the good shepherd would just let a little lamb walk out to where a wolf is hiding? Why do you think they carry a staff with a hook on it? What's the hook for? To bring the wolf in closer? Hook that wolf and drag it in. It's good to bring a wolf into the car with you or in the tent with you. Yeah, get that wolf right next to you. No, it's to pull the sheep away from the wolf and get the sheep behind you between the wolf and the sheep with a staff. No, they carried a staff also to whack the sheep, to get its attention to quit wandering into trouble. But either way, it doesn't let the sheep walk into the wolf. It corrects it. I actually watched a video this morning of cows being bit on the legs by dogs to make them go where they needed to go. And the environmentalists criticizing the cowboys for, you letting dogs bite the cows? Yeah, because the cow's food is over here, and they're going over there. They're too dumb. So the dogs are helping me get the cows where they can eat. It's what the cow wants. I want Jesus. I want salvation. You got to bite me on the leg to get it for me? Okay. Okay. Lord, please don't make me have to be bit. Can you just tell me? If I won't listen, okay, I give you permission to bite me. But please give me a chance at it. Hey, go this way. Okay, go bite him. He wouldn't do it. Anybody else give permission to the Lord to go ahead? Like, I would love to be told, and if I don't listen, and okay, all four of us. Oh, no, you're all too lazy. Come on, put them down. You're too lazy. You wouldn't raise your hand when I said so. All right. Let's just, so, real quick. I don't want to, good grief. Musicians, you better hold off. We're not even half. Okay. John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father lest he comes through me. John 3:16. His only begotten Son. This is what the Bible's calling Jesus. John 1:1, the Word was God, was with God, the Word was God, and nothing was created that he did not create. And in verse 14, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. It is Jesus. John 8:51, Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am. Identifying himself as the name God gave, I am. And it doesn't mean I exist. It means I'm with you. Moses said, I need a name to tell Pharaoh. And he said, tell him I am sent you. And for centuries, man has interpreted that as I exist. Tell them I exist. That is not what it means. Tell them the God who's with you has told you. The God, the present one. Jesus is the present one. Colossians 2:9, the wholeness of God dwells in him. Revelation 19:16 calls him the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Revelation 1:8 says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, who was, who is, and who is to come, the Almighty. Revelation 1:17 and 18. Put that one up. When I saw him, I fell at his feet like a dead man. He placed his right hand on me, saying, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, the living one. I was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and Hades. This is who Jesus says that he is. That's Jesus talking. Look it up, you'll see the red letters. I am the living one. Who do you say that he is? For me, he's the I am, the one with me. All that I've ever done in my life, and this last week, I got to see so much, look back on what I've done, where I've been, who I've touched. In the video out there at the auditorium, there were so many people came on that I led to Jesus. That cousin, the cousin with the thick thing and the mumbling, he mumbled. Vicky and my cousin. I remember leading him to Jesus in his car. There's just so much of this where I led people to Jesus, and I look at it, and it's just like he's the I am. He's the one with me. If I challenge people, he's with me. He's with me. He's here. The King is here. He's the Lord, which means he's my Lord. He's the Lord, yeah, because he owns everything, but what he owns won't submit. So instead I say he's my Lord, because I submit. What that means, Lord, is owner. The actual word means owner. If I say he's my Lord, what am I saying? He's my owner. He owns me. The property doesn't say to the owner, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do what I want to do. No, he's my owner. It's a terrible word to use today, but it's the one that best shocks you into understanding what master means, what Lord means. But more than that, he's my Savior. He's my teacher, which makes me his disciple, his duplicate, his follower. Shocking how many people think you can be a Christian without following Jesus. I'm a follower of Jesus. Do you follow Jesus? Not really. I don't understand. When Jesus called people, he said, follow me, and I will. Follow me, and we will go. Follow me, and you will have. It's all conditional. It's very popular to say it's not the unconditional love. The unconditional love is that he sent Jesus for everybody. You have been offered grace. You have been offered salvation unconditionally. You don't have to be something special to have it offered to you, but you have to receive it and do what the requirements are to have it. You have to believe. And what does that mean? Click your heels together and say, there's no place like home, maybe you've been taught. No. You have to do what he says believing means. We talked about that last week. You have to come to Jesus. I call it, give my life to him. I surrender my will to you. I want what you want for me, not what I want for me. And he gives me everything. I asked him one time, what's the most important? No, he asked me, I'm sorry. I was on a cruise ship and he shocked me because I was seeking the answers to something. I gotta know, God. He said, what do you think the most important thing you teach is? I guess I have to answer what you said because we'll put my questions aside and go with your questions. I said, I don't know. I tried 3 things and they were all wrong. I said, Lord, then what is the most important thing I teach? That you're owed nothing, that you deserve nothing, that you owe everything and that he lets you work for him. And I was flat out floored and stunned, because I do teach that. I am owed nothing. I don't deserve anything. I do owe everything to him. And it is just mind-boggling that he lets me work in his kingdom. Only the best of the best and the highest of every kind should be allowed to work in his kingdom, but he picks me. And it's just like, whoa, I get to be part of the show. I get to be part of the solution. And it's like, I don't know why. Maybe you know better, but I don't know why. Maybe you think you should be, and that's great. I have no problem with that. But I don't know why I am. And he says that's the most important thing that I teach. And if I could teach you that, I think I would equip you for life of any kind. I think that come hell, come high water, come salvation, come the mountain wonders, come the riches of glory, or the dregs of war and society's horrors. Either place you end up, wherever you go, living under a tree or on a castle on a hill, you'd be all right. If you could just understand you're owed nothing, you deserve nothing, you owe everything, and he lets you work for him. And it's just like, I got to tell you, I have not lived with nothing. I have not been given nothing. I've not had to pay everything. And yet it's how I feel. I do owe everything. The blessings far outweigh it. True, you can't outgive God. You give everything to him and he keeps giving, but you not because you deserve it, but because he loves you. Because he gives. Because the plan is for your wonder and grace. You have horrible things happen to you, and the joy of the Lord doesn't depart from you. You work yourself to frazzle, and you enter into his rest. And people are over here saying, I got to protect my rest. I got to protect my rest. I got to protect my rest. And you're going, I don't feel like I need rest anymore. He is my rest. Aren't you worried about burnout? I never once in my life have I worried about burnout. And I haven't burned out because I fell in love, because I lay my life down. And that's what he is. Who do you say that he is? He's the Christ, the Son of the living God. He's the Messiah come to make his home in me. He's the voice of God in the midst. He's the plan of God for my life. He's the ever-present help in times of trouble, the bright and morning star. He's the light on my path, the guide to my eyes. He's the bread that came down from heaven and the living water. I could go on all day. He's the author of my life, the author of my faith. Are you hearing me? I pray you do. I pray I got through at least a little bit. Who do you say that I am? That's the question. What's your pursuit of that answer? I've kind of showed you, I've kind of like opened the door to let you peek into my answer. What's your answer to the question, who do you say that Jesus is? It's the only question I think that matters. Because I'll believe correctly if I just have the Jesus identified correctly. If I have the Father identified correctly. If I understand the presence of the Spirit and his holiness, I'm going to believe correctly. I'm going to give right. I'm going to receive correctly. I'm going to treat others right. I'm going to believe about myself correctly. My self-hate's going to disappear, and that's the epidemic you're all struggling with. Selfishness is going to become a way weaker force in my life. The what about me is going to be asked way fewer times per minute, per life. You following me? Am I making any sense at all? So both of you, am I making sense? How about the rest of you? Yeah? Okay. I don't know what to do from here. I'm gonna pray and let you go. But who do you say that he is? Maybe today you can just worship the Lord before we go, huh? You got a worship song there, hon? Yeah, why don't we just worship him? Would you all just stand up and let's just worship him and excuse ourselves and go home and think about Jesus and what he's calling us to. Maybe think about what you believe about the question, who do you say that I am? Father, we thank you and love you for your word, your stories, this book that you protected for these centuries, that we have the Bible to guide us and lead us and remind us of what you've said and what Jesus said when he was here, what your plan is, your promise is, your goal is, what your calling is, that you reveal the truth to us and the truth sets us free, and we are your disciples made free in the name of Jesus. Do you thank him for that? All that I just said, would you say amen boldly and loud? Amen. Let's worship him. Come on. The King is here. The King is here. Worship the King.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe so that you never miss another video or live stream. And if you'd like to support the Father's House, just click the Give button. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you soon.